The Onyx 38 was a truly impressive experience, but today it's all about the DVO Onyx 38 WP collaboration fork. So that was a lot of acronyms. So WP is an Austrian suspension manufacturer that got swallowed up by KTM. So they only make moto suspension for now, except for this fork. And the only way to get this fork is to buy a $10,000 Gas Gas Ebike. DVO is a small suspension manufacturer from Southern California, and the Onyx is their flagship 38 model enduro fork. So we're going to get into these nerdy tech bits called the cone valve that WP is famous for, but what you need to know is the DVO Onyx 38 WP collaboration fork is about 95% DVO, and I truly love this fork for the simple reason it has excellent traction, the perfect balance between plushness and progressiveness. The WP part of this fork is stickers, colors, and a slight damper tune. Easily identified by its red knobs, everything DVO makes is green. So on the WP damper, we definitely have a different set of clicks than your standard Onyx. We have 25 clicks of high-speed compression and 15 clicks of low speed. So turning the high-speed compression knob is pretty difficult on both the regular Onyx and the WP fork. So at the end of the video, when we get into the nerdy bits, you're going to find out why. Warming up on the WP-38, so nothing particularly impressive when it comes to those cross-country trails. Not abnormal for a heavy-hitting 38mm stanchion enduro fork. But one thing you should know is the plush bucket DVO air spring in this fork does give you a high level of comfort. While increasing the speed, the fork maintains its comfort level. But at this medium level of speed, you'd be hard pressed to tell the difference between an Onyx 38 and the WP collaboration fork. Moving into high-speed compression testing on the WP fork. So all the clickers are basically set in the middle at this point, and I was completely out of control. First thought would be to adjust the rebound, but never do that. We want to slow the rebound down using a firmer compression setting. With the faster open rebound needle, you're going to get more performance if you just close the compression a little bit. Adding just a few clicks of compression got the rebound completely in control without touching the rebound adjuster. So this fork is truly something incredible, and I got some slow-mo to demonstrate where this fork truly shines. This is easily one of the best or the best high-speed damping circuits I have ever felt. There is two kinds of problems in this world. There's good problems and there's bad problems. So the fork being so absolutely incredible in the high-speed department, it screws up the tune of the rear shock. So I had to go in and readjust the Topaz Prime. Every piece of suspension is a compromise. The DVO Onyx 38 is a very comfortable fork, meaning it has small bump sensitivity, so you put it into some railing berms and it does dive down into its travel a little bit, how it's currently set up. DVO forks have always been very decisive. Some people absolutely hate them and some people absolutely love them. Let's just say it's definitely on the coil side of things. So since they have retired the OTT system, this air spring is definitely on the plusher side. Forgive this completely out of focus footage, I had someone filming on the big camera for me. So by simply watching a fork on camera will tell you how it's riding. So check out the ground hugging traction out of the Onyx 38. So while this fork has insane ground hugging traction, it's also simultaneously playful, going through nearly all 180 millimeters of travel off a small bunny hop. So let me tell you what makes this fork special. The WP handling the super mega high speed compression hits like a hydraulic bottom mount. While this fork is the best of both worlds in my humble opinion, there's no denying that this fork does use a lot of its travel a lot of the time. My current setup in this fork is 81 psi and about middle compression and rebound, a few clicks firmer on the compression side. So I recently got this comment saying I set my sag wrong. Do not sit on the bike, stand on the bike to measure the sag. So I am open to suggestions because I don't know everything. After standing up on the bike with 81 psi in the fork, I'm definitely more than 20% sagged into this fork. So let's get it corrected according to the comment. So let me save you the long pumping session, but I had to add 50 total psi to this fork to get the sag correct while standing in the kneeling racing position like this, like the comment says. And lo and behold, I'm still above 20% sag according to the sag measure tool. This could be due to the fact the Rocky Mountain is heavily front center biased. Within one huck to flat, I knew this was the incorrect pressure. So I dumped about 15 psi out of the fork, and let's try it at 115 to see if this fork is more supportive. So a quick run through the test track was not very promising. Basically the fork felt oversprung and harsh. Nearly crashing, it was time to go back to the 80 psi number. While riding the fork with so much air pressure in it, I had to open the compression to the fully open setting. So now I need to put it back to the middle to get that support back with the lower pressure. Returning to the settings from day one on this fork, that magic absolute carpet ride had returned. So I truly love this fork, and you may like this too, for the simple reason when you're on mellow trails, this fork is also very comfortable. So it's kind of pick your poison here. Use a lot of your travel and be comfortable, or have a firm, supportive fork that's not very comfortable. Now, the one differentiating factor I found with the WP fork, this fork is insane under heavy compressions. No tokens in this fork and no harsh bottom outs. So all this had me wondering, is this all placebo effect? So let's jump into the nerd department and tear the compression assembly down. DVO makes their stuff pretty friendly to work on for the home mechanic. So this damper, you do need a specialty 29mm shaft clamp set that I did link in the description if you have this fork. There is a way around it and I have a whole video on it, but we're just focusing on the technology inside of the WP compression assembly. The compression assembly sits directly under the compression knobs on the fork, and it absolutely makes or breaks a fork. So a trash compression assembly will be a trash fork. A good fork has an excellent compression assembly. So here it is, the legendary Bicycle WP valve. So this is pretty prestigious in the motocross world, but unfortunately there's nothing to see. So I do have to disassemble this to see the cone valve. Many times the super tech nerds get upset with my videos, so I do not imply that anything I say is correct here. I just took it apart and I'll tell you what we got. We got the lock nut, a washer, and then the shim stack. Anyone know anything about that shim stack? Please add to this conversation here. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shims and then a washer. And then we have the base plate or the main piston thing. And here is the legendary cone valve. Damping theory is far above my pay grade, so correct me if I'm wrong. So I did some research on the cone valve. So it is a replacement for a mid valve. So the conventional way to control oil in a fork or a shock is these little washer things on your screen. Call those shim stacks. So the cone valve basically diverts the oil flow when the oil is flowing at a fast speed. So during a big bottom out like this one, the oil is basically controlled with the cone shape on your screen. I rode the WP fork for about a week and found it absolutely incredible when there was high shaft speeds. Basically the high speed damping I found absolutely phenomenal. The best, or some of the best damping I have ever felt. So now I'm making the video and I did all the research on the cone valve. That's supposedly its specialty, is high speed movements on your fork. Well, if I was on a Fox 38 180 millimeters of travel with no tokens, I would be getting a harsh metallic clanking down that trail. So I have 0 tokens in this fork, and there was basically no harsh bottom out. So it's a really effective way at controlling the oil flow. I'm done patting that German engineer on the back that made the cone valve, because to be honest, German stuff is usually overly stupid engineered. The cone valve is the one exception of stupidly simple and effective. So the rest of the fork, internally speaking, is all DVO. So DVO does really good job at damping, even if you don't like green. The high tension felt on the high speed compression adjuster, the external one, is preloading this spring and the cone valve in the main piston assembly. So basically more tension on the spring, and the shim stacks are going to be held tighter in place, allowing for less oil flow. The low speed compression knob, or the low speed movements, the oil goes inside of this tiny hole on the bottom of the compression assembly. And this piece right here is called the loader, and there's a tiny little screw in it, so when you turn the low speed compression adjuster, it winds the screw in, allowing oil to not flow as much. Moving past the bottom of this fork, I attempted to fully strip it down and show you it all on the table. So I oftentimes read comments of people trying to repair their suspension off the videos I make, and disaster strikes to them. And I am not immune to this as well. As I pull the compression needle out of this fork, the ball and the spring that make the clicks went flying on the ground. I spent 2 hours crawling on the ground looking for them and could not find them. So the fork went back to DVO for repair. Just having spent over a month on the Onyx RXF 38, I can truly say the Onyx 38 is a world-class fork. When it comes to the WP collaboration Onyx, I'm going to say it's the best fork I ever rode. Now you may not even notice the difference between the Onyx 38 standard issue and the collaboration fork. So this collaboration fork with DVO and WP had me thinking how important collaboration is. So I got an email from MeWash. Sorry if I had said that wrong, I just watched it on YouTube. And he's like, start a Discord. So I like to help people simultaneously, not just like all self-serving. So I started a technical suspension Facebook group where people can help each other out. And that link is right here. And thank you to the channel members who support me, because these videos bleed me dry.